On the Track is a web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
So what do we have in this episode, Mr. John?
Well, Hennis, in this episode we're up at Loch Ness with Ian Squibbs, who's going around looking for the locations of some more of the classic Loch Ness Monster sightings.
I really like the old credits.
Why you been so rude, Dana? Reckless, why you been so crude, Dana? Feckless, you been drinking brew for breakfast. Rudy, can't fail. I know my life makes you nervous, but I tell you I can't live in a service like a doctor who's born for a purpose. Rudy, can't fail.
It may interest you all to know that the British government's new Home Secretary, Grant Shapps, is a cousin or a nephew or something of Mick Jones of The Clash. Well done to everybody involved.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of an organisation called the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. For those of you who watch the show regularly, you will already know that we are a bi-weekly melange of hard science, weird shit and surreality. But for those of you who are not regular visitors, we are a bi-weekly melange of hard science, weird shit and surreality. You want to know what surreality is? Check this out.
A mouse lived in a windmill in old Amsterdam.
But now on to the show proper. And here is something which you should have seen about 5 weeks ago, but after filming it, I completely forgot about it. And whenever Ian Squibbs said, "But you haven't shown the last bit of my trip to Loch Ness yet," I kept on saying, "Of course we've shown it." But, of course, we hadn't shown it. So many apologies, Ian. And here, for all of you who've been waiting for so long for it, here's the final part of Ian Squibbs' recent, some months ago now, trip to Loch Ness, looking for the places where some of the most famous Loch Ness Monster sightings took place. Enjoy. Well, welcome back, Ian. It's lovely to have you here again. What have we got on your crypto plate for us this week?
Well, today, Jonathan, it's good to be back. And today we're going to revisit some more historic Loch Ness locations. So what we'll do is that. So then, our first port of call is going to be the location of the Harry Finlay site. Bit of background. So, on the 30th of August 1952, Etta Finlay and her son, Harry, 12, were doing a spot of fishing from Alduri Pier at the north end of Loch Ness whilst on a caravan holiday. Around lunchtime on that day, as Harry was casting his rod, he heard what sounded like a boat approaching from his right. Not the sound of an engine, but the breaking of the waters. As he looked towards the so-called boat, Harry was astonished to see a jet black creature cruising past him until it was in line with the pier, about 25 to 30 feet away. So it was quite a close encounter with the monster, this. Harry described the creature as having a long neck, which was about 4 to 5 feet tall, 2 humps, and each 3 feet long and about 3 feet apart, an overall length of about 20 feet. The head was not much wider than the neck, and there were 2 curious projections protruded from it. But he could not see any discernible features such as a mouth, nostrils, or eyes. So let's have a quick look at the sketch that was produced. So that was what was seen in the water.
What date was this?
This was 1952. This was the 20th of August, 1952. This happened. So
if Harry was still alive, he'd be 82.
And we can come on to that actually. There's a bit to add at the end about that, which the viewers might be interested in. But anyway, Harry then called out to his mother, who was by the caravan, which was parked just before the end of the pier, just before the pier at the time. She rushed to see the sight, which she said left them rooted to the spot. So they were quite clearly in shock at what they saw. The creature then swam off southwards towards the main body of the loch before submerging in a heavy surge of water that broke upon the shore. During the sighting, which lasted for about a minute or two, Harry did get his camera to capture a photo of the beast, but being an old-style box camera, which required you to look down the viewfinder before snapping, he struggled to operate it in his excitement. His mother took over the camera, but she also failed to take a photo of the monster before it disappeared beneath the waves, which was a shame because that probably would have been the best photo of the monster, better than anything Frank Searle produced. So yeah. Anyway, skeptics have suggested that Harry and his mother had actually seen a deer swimming in the loch, not a monster. This explanation was mainly due to the horns that protruded from its head. But the witnesses have always rejected this explanation and were adamant that they did not see a deer on that fateful day. So there you go. That's a bit background to the sighting. So my research into this sighting took me to the north end of Loch Ness, and it was there that I located Aldoo Pier, and this was where young Harry saw the monster swim by. Right, so here we are at the north end of the loch. We're at Aldoo Pier. And this is where in 1950 a young Harry Finley was fishing, and then he spotted the monster. So let's have a look where he would have been stood at the time. It was quite a close sighting. And the monster swam past from right to left before submerging. And that's what he drew. No monster today though. you have it, Aldori Pier sighting from 1950 by Harry Finley. Yep. So I hear a disturbance. Something's disturbing the water. What is it? It's the monster swimming under the pier. Just waves. Okay, there you go. So there you have it. The Harry Finley sighting. So, and I followed the footsteps of young Harry. But interestingly, as you mentioned, Jonathan, Harry Finley is still alive today and is possibly the oldest surviving witness of the Loch Ness monster. And there is quite an interesting interview that he did about his experience quite recently on YouTube. So if you're interested in this sighting, just go onto YouTube, put in Harry Finley, Finlay, Loch Ness, and you should come across it. And he'll give you a bit more information about what he saw. So there you go. That's the Harry Finley sighting. Nice. But all right. Let's move on then, and what we'll do is we'll look at one of the classic Loch Ness photos, and we're going to look at the H.L. Cockerell photograph location. So a bit of background into the photo then. In October 1958, H.L. Cockerell was on a one-man expedition in his kayak to find the monster when he photographed an object near the shores of Invermorrison on Loch Ness. It was about dawn when he saw something emerge 50 feet away from him. He said it had a flat head which was low in the water, about 4 or 5 feet long and wide. About 3 feet astern of this, he noticed another thin line, all very low in the water. He was convinced that it was the head and back of a huge creature. Cockerell then approached whatever was in the water, and it turned to face him. He then took a photograph of the object and moved towards it. So what we'll do, let's have a look at the photo there, Jonathan. Definitely some form of large disturbance on the surface there. So we see that there. The object then appeared to sink, but Cockerell could still see something on the surface. It made motionless as Cockerell moved towards it, only to find that it was a long stick, about an inch thick. He took it that this was the monster he had seen and took it aboard his kayak as a souvenir. So a bit disappointing there. Anyway, but when Cockerell had his film developed, he noticed things that he did not notice at the time, either through fatigue or through bad lighting. It showed a large object, much larger than the stick that he thought had caused the disturbance, and it had a distinct wash. There was no reason for the wash, and the picture shows the water being flat calm. So, could Cockerell have photographed Nessie after all? Yeah. Additionally, the creature was seen by Mr. Brown and his wife the following day in the same location. Brown said he saw 3 black humps churning through the water, leaving a foaming trail. So, yes, maybe he wasn't a stick after all. Could have been a living, undiscovered creature. Now then, the thing about this is the image that we see and we're familiar with is actually one of 2 photos that Cockerell took, and they're actually cropped. So the original photos have a much wider frame. So what we'll do, if you just look at the next picture there, Jonathan, this was one of the originals, picture number 3. This is the lesser known of the 2 photos. As you can see, there is a disturbance in the upper middle of the frame there. You can see a lot more of the mountain formation in the background as well. So that's the lesser known photo. And then if we can move on to the next image, which is the uncropped image of the more famous photo that we looked at. So there's a much bigger frame, a lot more in it, a lot more background in those photos, and that made it easier to locate where the sighting took place. So, as usual, I headed towards Invermorrison on the north side of the loch in an attempt to find the spot where Cockerell had his encounter. Let's see how I got on. So it was here. 1958 at H.L. Cockerell. Saw and photographed the monster on this stretch of water. The original, a bit windy, and match up the mountain tops with the original photo. It was taken here. This is where Cockerell would have approached the creature that night in 1958 and got that famous photo. Just look at the photo here. It's too windy to do that, but yeah. But again, I see no monster. Not as lucky as Cockerell, but there's still time. So here's Cockerell's photo. There is the location. And there you have it. The Cockerell photo. Jonathan, we got, you can see the actual original photo that Cockerell took, plus the image that I got. So that's the today's the site today. So there you go. So that's the Cockerell photograph location in the bag. So cheers. Anyway, let's move on to quite a famous sighting. The Torquil MacLeod sighting. So let's just give a big bit of background into this one. In February 1960, Torquil MacLeod was looking across the southern end of the loch when he sighted the monster partially ashore, with its tail trailing off into the water on the bank on the opposite side of the loch in an area called the Horseshoe Crag, due to the horseshoe formation made by the rocks on the loch side. MacLeod observed the creature through binoculars and estimated the creature to be huge, perhaps 60 foot long. So yeah, quite a big one. He said the following of his experience. Upon turning my glasses on the moving object, I saw a large grey-black mass. I'm inclined to think the skin was wet and dry in patches. And at the front, there was what looked like an outsized elephant's trunk. Paddles were visible on both sides, but at what I presumed was the rear end, and it was this end which tapered off into the water. The animal was on a steep slope, and taking its backbone as an approximate straight line, was inclined about 15 to 20 degrees out of my line of sight. The trunk being at the top and to the left, and the tail at the bottom in the water to the right. For about 8 or 9 minutes, the animal remained quite still, but for its trunk. I assumed head, but I could see no head as such, which occasionally moved from side to side with a slight up and down motion, like a snake about to strike, quite slowly. It was, to my mind, obviously scanning the shores of the loch in each direction. In the end, it made a half jump, half lurch, its trunk coming right round as it was facing me. Then it flopped into the water and apparently went straight down. So it must have been quite deep, close inshore at that point. As it turned, I saw a large square-ended flipper forward of the big rear paddles or flippers. So yeah. So he's got a sketch there. This is actually from Tim Dinsdale's book. We should look at the next picture, Jonathan, number 6. This is what MacLeod observed through his lens. Sort of a classic type Loch Ness form. No real visible head though, and the looks a bit like a wizard's hat poking out the water there. But anyway, so as usual, I made it my mission to locate Horseshoe Crag. So I headed to the north shore on the southern end of the loch, and let's see how I got on. So in February 1960, Turquil MacLeod was stationed in about this position, opposite the Horseshoe Crag, when he spotted the monster, half in, half out on the shore. Let's zoom in. This is what MacLeod saw through his binoculars. The creature's long neck was moving from side to side, so it's a sketch there, and that's where he saw it on the horseshoe. Let's zoom in and see if the monster is there today. No, nothing. No monster on the shore. What is that object there? No, that's not the monster. No, that's not the monster, that's just a bush. MacLeod watched the monster for about 10 minutes, and then it flopped back into the water with a splash. So there we go, that was Turquil MacLeod's sighting. So we're not as lucky today. Classic Loch Ness locations complete. Thank you very much for now. So yeah, and there you go, an interesting trip I had, and some interesting locations visited. And hopefully one day I'll be back to visit some more.
If we can go back to Frank Searle, there's one question I meant to ask you and I didn't. Do you think any of Frank Searle's claimed photographs or sightings are actual of the monster?
Well, I suppose you have to believe the monster is real to start with to agree with, to think that some of them are real. To be honest, no, I don't think so. Maybe the first photo he took, which was like that, the one that looks a bit like the McNab photo, you know, maybe that one, but that's only because there's not that much detail in it.
No,
I think it was a case the general.
That's the one I would have said as well, because it looks, to me, it looks like vegetable mats with bits of twiggy stuff sticking up. But the bit I liked most in Frank Searle's book, although I don't believe a word of it, when he claimed to have seen a baby, I can't remember if it was one or several baby monsters in a river.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant, that story, but I don't know a word of it.
Well, they were probably otters, and that documentary which I recommended, which is on YouTube, was actually shown on it was actually shown on Channel 5. There are some people who knew Frank at the time. They did say about they did, you know, mention that on there, and they would like saying, yeah, Frank saw some otters. But if you look at an otter, it is a baby Nessie, isn't it? The formation is very much there. So yeah, but no, I think he probably went to the loch initially. The general vibe about Frank is he went to the loch believing in the monster, and as time went on, he wasn't getting any sightings or photos, and that's when he started to produce them himself. So started out in good intentions, but no, in the end, it ended up like it did for him. But yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? We keep going back to Frank Searle. This
The big
always talking about
question now,
Frank and his adventures. I think is brilliant.
do you believe?
Mm.
Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster?
What do you say, John?
Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster?
No, but I used to. No, I don't, but I used to. As I said, when I saw Doc Shields' photo, I thought that was brilliant on Arthur C. Clarke. I thought, wow, this has to be real. And I was only, I don't know, about 8 or 9 at the time. Same with the Patterson film. When I saw that, I thought, well, it has to be real. It has to be real. I can't see any other explanation. But no, but the thing about it is, it's such a good story, Loch Ness. There's so many other things around surrounding the monster, like I said, like Frank Searle, for example. The way people hunted for it, the original sightings, the land sightings, as with any cryptozoological subject, it's just good to look into and then decide for yourself. Look at the evidence, decide for yourself, isn't it? And see what you think. And it's part of the fun, even if it's not real.
And that is a perfect way of
Yeah.
ending this segment. Well done. So I'm waiting.
Thank you very much.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little studio, wants me to remind you, always press the notification bell. Otherwise you won't be told when there's a new show to watch.
And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the end of another episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to all of you who've written in or phoned me inquiring about my health. I'm still holding it together. I'm still hanging on in there. Although the long-term prognosis is still in the lap of the gods. So, thank you very much to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the show. And a big thank you to all the people who've helped this episode, particularly my producer Louis, Graham Inglis, my old friend, Deputy Director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and my carer, who has helped me keep it together when times really are pretty grim. My stupid dog Archie, who's at the moment making idiotic noises behind you, behind the camera, and I'm not sure. Yes, now he's being really stupid and he's rolling around all over the floor. Yes, dog. Come here. If you want to come here, you can come here. Come on. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Ian Squibbs, who's been a wonderful guest this week, and to whom I want to once again apologise that this segment that we filmed so long ago has taken so long to come out. It is because I'm an idiot and I forget things. But thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much to my silly dog Archie, who I love very much. And all things being equal, I'll be here on Wednesday, And I'll be back here on next Saturday. What are we going to be talking about next Saturday? I've got no idea. But are you there, Mr. McQuillan? Because if you're there, or even if you're not, I'll be seeing you.